Call me Alexis. I collect every game I ever played, and it's not for the reasons you think. At first, that might sound obsessive, maybe even impossible. Why would anyone want to hunt down every single game from their past? Isn't that just nostalgia or an excuse to fill shelves? But for me, it's not that simple. This isn't just about owning things. It's about recovering something. Something I once lost. Maybe more than once. When I hold one of these games, it's not just plastic and paper. It's a memory that suddenly comes back to life. The sound of the console humming in the background. The faint glow of a CRT screen on my face. The quiet excitement of a Saturday morning, with nothing else to do but play. And yet, behind that warmth, there's something else. Something heavier. Why do I feel the need to rebuild what's gone? Why does it matter so much to have these exact pieces again? Not digital, not downloaded, but real. Why do these tiny discs and cartridges feel safer than most people ever did? Maybe it started the day everything disappeared. Maybe it began long before that. When I was in my 20s, I lost my entire collection. Every console, every game, all gone because of asbestos contamination. It wasn't just a box of things being thrown away. It was years of my life erased overnight. And even though I tried to tell myself it didn't matter, that they were just objects, something inside me cracked. So when I say I collect every game I ever played, I'm not just talking about the games themselves. I'm talking about rebuilding who I was, piece by piece. But here's the thing. This journey didn't start with strength. It started with grief. And somewhere along the way, it became something else entirely. Is it about closure? Is it about control, taking back what the world took from me? Or maybe it's about hope. The idea that by preserving these small pieces of childhood, I can keep a part of myself safe no matter what happens next. I don't have all the answers yet, but what I do know is this. Collecting isn't just about the past. It's about survival, memory, and learning how to hold on gently to the things that still make you feel alive. And that's where my story begins. It didn't start with a warning. No phone call, no letter, no knock on the door, just silence and a strange new lock. I still remember the day I went down to the basement. It was just supposed to be a quick visit. I wanted to grab one of my old boxes, maybe a controller, maybe a few of the Lego sets I kept down there for sentimental reasons. But when I reached the door, something was different. The lock was new. For a moment, I thought there'd been a mistake. Maybe the landlord had changed the locks for maintenance. Maybe I'd get a key later. But when I looked through the small crack in the frame, I saw enough to know. Something had gone terribly wrong. Inside, everything was chaos. My electronics, the consoles, the cables, the boxed games were ruined. Some smashed, some corroded, some coated in dust and fragments from broken ceiling tiles. And in the corner, my childhood Lego sets, the ones I'd carefully stored in labeled containers, were stuffed into blue garbage bags, like something dirty. Something to be thrown away. I didn't even know what had happened yet. No one had told me about the asbestos or the safety measures. No notice, no warning, just a locked door and the quiet realization that my things, my memories, had already been decided for me. I stood there for a long time. It's strange how still the world gets in moments like that. You expect anger, panic, something loud. But all I felt was this heavy, sinking quiet, like watching a part of myself dissolve behind that door. When I finally reached the landlord, he explained it like paperwork. Asbestos was found. We had to clear and seal the space. No malice, no apology, just rules. And in Germany, that's all it takes. Once something's contaminated, it's not yours anymore. It becomes waste. But how do you throw away pieces of your life? How do you let go of the things that taught you who you are? That door didn't just lock away my belongings. It sealed off an entire chapter of my story. For weeks afterward, I felt hollow, like someone had taken my past and replaced it with a blank space. There were no photos to look back on, no way to remember except through fragments in my mind. Every time I thought about it, I kept seeing those blue bags. That color, that final insult, childhood reduced to garbage. It took a long time before I could even talk about it. Longer still to forgive myself for not being able to save anything. And yet, even then, somewhere deep down, a quiet thought began to grow. If everything I loved could be lost that easily, what would it mean to start again? To rebuild, not because I had to, but because I needed to. After everything that happened, life didn't just feel heavy. It felt unlivable. Every day blurred into the next, and I woke up already tired, already bracing myself for the next quiet breakdown. There was no energy left for anything. Not for cleaning, not for cooking, not for trying. Just existing. Work became another kind of nightmare. My job had already been stressful before all this, but after the loss, I was too fragile to hide it. My concentration slipped, small mistakes piled up, and my boss, instead of helping, made everything worse. He pushed, mocked, demanded. I don't want to talk about the details, not here, not now. But it was enough to break whatever strength I had left. I'm still in treatment for it. Some scars don't show on the outside, but they take years to fade. The combination of everything, the destroyed collection, the isolation, the pressure at work, it created this endless fog in my head. I stopped recognizing myself. I didn't laugh anymore. Even the things that used to bring me comfort felt distant, hollow. I'd come home, sit on the couch, and stare at nothing for hours. The TV on just for noise. There's a point where sadness stops feeling like an emotion and starts feeling like a place. That's where I was, stuck in a small, gray space where time didn't move. Every sound was too loud, every silence too deep. I remember lying awake at night, the ceiling glowing faintly from the streetlight outside, and thinking, I used to be someone who felt joy. I used to care about things. Where did she go? Losing my collection had taken more than objects. It had taken the last thread connecting me to something safe, something innocent. Without it, I felt like I was watching my own life from the outside, unable to step back in. People talk about hitting rock bottom like it's a single moment, a crash, a breaking point. But for me, it was slow, a long, quiet sinking. Every day a little lower, every day a little less light. And yet, somewhere inside that emptiness, something small refused to disappear. A whisper, maybe. The faintest reminder that even if everything was gone, I wasn't. Not yet. But back then, I wasn't ready to listen to it. There's a point where the only direction left to go is up. But it doesn't feel like that when you're standing at the bottom. Back then, everything in my life had collapsed into a single blur of exhaustion and fear. I had lost my things, my safety, my confidence, and for a while, almost my life. Things had gotten darker than I ever thought they could. I didn't see a way out, didn't think I deserved one. The days were a cycle of survival, pretending, functioning, breaking again. Eventually, I couldn't pretend anymore. I started therapy because I had to, because the alternative was unthinkable. Therapy wasn't easy. It forced me to face the quiet parts I had been avoiding, the guilt, the anger, the loneliness I buried under work and distraction. There were days I didn't want to go, days I sat in the waiting room wondering what the point even was. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, something began to shift. And then, life began to open up again. Not suddenly, not miraculously, but through small, deliberate steps, one conversation at a time, one honest moment at a time, one game at a time. It sounds simple, but buying that first game again was terrifying. Not because of the money, but because it meant I was allowing myself to care about something again. I still remember holding that little box in my hands, heart pounding, realizing that I could choose to rebuild what had been taken, not as it was, but as something new. I didn't start collecting for nostalgia or value. I started because I needed to remind myself that I was still here, that my story hadn't ended in that basement. Each game became a fragment of healing, a small declaration that I could still create meaning, even out of loss. And somewhere in that process, something bigger shifted. My finances stabilized. I found structure again. I stopped running from myself. It felt as if life, or maybe something higher, had quietly reached out and redirected me. I can't explain it fully. Some would call it luck, others fate. I call it grace. God didn't fix everything overnight, but He gave me the strength to begin again and the wisdom to understand that starting over doesn't mean erasing the past. It means carrying it gently, transforming pain into purpose. So I rebuilt, not all at once, but slowly, carefully, with intention. And for the first time in years, I felt something like peace. Because every game I brought home wasn't just a memory regained. It was proof that I had survived and that I was finally learning how to live again. At some point in all of this, I made a quiet decision, one that probably wouldn't make sense to most people. I would only collect physical games, not because I dislike digital ones, but because I can't trust them. I've seen how quickly things can vanish. A login that fails, a server that shuts down, a company deciding that your purchase no longer exists. And after everything I've lost, I can't build my life around something that fragile. I collect only things that can't be taken from me so easily. Things I can hold. Things that exist even when the power is off. There's something grounding about it. The weight of a cartridge, the sound of a disc clicking into place, the texture of old paper manuals. They remind me that not everything meaningful has to live inside a screen. That some things deserve to be touched, to take up space, to last. But if I'm honest, there's also fear behind it. The fear of losing everything again. It's always there, quiet, patient, waiting in the background. Every time I shelve a new game, we clean the dust from an old box. A small part of me still wonders, what if it happens again? What if one day all of this disappears too? It's irrational maybe, but that's what trauma does. It rewires what safety means. Even now, when everything is better, when I'm stronger and stable, that fear hasn't completely left me. I think that's why I hold on tighter, because I need to see that my life, my memories, my progress are still there, visible, tangible, real. Every physical game I own is a small act of rebellion against impermanence, the quiet statement that says, this is mine, this exists, this will not vanish overnight. I know physical media isn't perfect. It takes room, it ages, it fades. But so do people. And that's what makes both worth cherishing. So yes, I choose discs over downloads. Plastic over clouds. Because I've lived through what it means to lose everything. And now I surround myself only with things I can touch. Things that anchor me, even when I'm afraid. Because sometimes starting again doesn't mean chasing the past. It means building a future that finally feels like yours.